Heather, thanks for coming on the podcast. How we always start is a brief introduction of yourself and your business, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, great. So my name is Heather Horton. I am the founder of a digital marketing and web development agency and e-commerce consultancy called Ecrubox Digital. I started the agency at the end of 2017. And so we've been going just over 7 years now. We've been through a lot of change over that time. We actually didn't acquire the web development side of the business until 2021. So before that, we were just focused on e-com consultancy and digital marketing. In terms of my background that kind of led me to starting the agency in the first place, I started with SEO content writing in the early 2000s when I left university. A very different thing than SEO content writing is now. Very much keyword stuffing and, all the things that we're all actively avoiding now with SEO. But off the back of that, I started working for an automotive company in the UK because I moved over here in 2009 after university. And in that company, I got amazing experience. I was doing events, I was doing email marketing, some light touch website stuff. It was very full on, but just amazing introduction into branding and communications. And also social media marketing was then becoming a thing. And then I moved to a flooring company called Carndine Design Flooring after that. And that was my first fully digital marketing and social media focused job. I was there for nearly 6 years and built up quite a big digital marketing team at that point and helped the business to really transition their strategy into more of a digital first strategy, I would say, focusing on driving consumers to the product rather than just focusing on B2B and retail, which was their previous strategy. And towards the end, I got to the point where that was all really well established. I got some opportunities to do some consultancy and did the classic, I'm going to take the plunge and see if I can do this on my own. And then very quickly, I managed to get some really big clients. Brompton Bicycle was one of my first clients. And so within 2 months, I'd hired my first 2 members of staff. And then we just kind of snowballed from there. And over lockdown, we doubled in size. Web development became more prominent, hence bringing on the web development agency. And now we're about half and half between the web development side and the digital marketing.
Very good. We'll get straight into the early days of the business then. You leave your job there. Where do the first clients come from? You mentioned that you get some quite big ones to start with.
So I'd actually spoken at an event while I was still working at Carndine.
Right.
It was a content and commerce event in London. And the main focus was on personalization with sites that were built on Sitecore, which is quite a big enterprise platform. And I met the head of marketing who was working at Brompton at that time because he was also speaking. And we were a little bit further along than they were at the time in terms of their Sitecore instance. So as soon as I announced on LinkedIn that I'd left and I'd started my own business, he reached out to me almost instantly. So they became one of our first retainers and one of our first clients. And then also off that same LinkedIn post, my old CEO, who was at Carndine whenever I first started working there, he was working at another flooring company, and he reached out to me straight away as well and introduced me to his marketing team. So once again, we managed to get quite a big client in our early days. And it's that exposure to having those clients on the books that really helped us to go in and pitch to other brands and have credibility in the early days.
Very good. And what were you actually delivering in straight away?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of Sitecore consultancy for Brompton, but I also built a team of developers who helped us with that project as well. And then it was very much join and then start offering additional services and things that we could do. So we started talking to them about SEO opportunities and took on SEO, then started talking to them about opportunities with their performance marketing and started running their Meta and Google ads as well. So that was kind of the main focus of the relationship, and always is the focus of our relationship, which is we have a team of multi-skilled people who can cover all sorts of different channels. And we like to come as an extension to that team that's internal and plug a lot of those gaps and holes and find opportunities for growth.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the team now has got a lot of skills in it.
Yeah.
What was and the first person you had to hire, the first person within 2 months of starting? What's that first hire? Is that just to get things off of you, or is that to add more skills?
So my first 2 hires were actually people who worked for me at my previous company where I was working. I put out a job, listing of what I was looking for, and was very lucky to have the 2 of them come to me and say, we'd really love to be a part of what you're doing. And so they were my first 2 hires. And I trusted them. I knew them. I already knew the kind of work that they did and the skills that they would bring. So I felt very, very lucky not having to take a risk of bringing in the unknown in those early days.
That is like, I must say, there's like the start of your business is very smooth compared to some of the ones that I've spoken to. And I'm sure it's not always been like that, but
I've never worked in an agency before. I'd only ever worked brand side. So in the beginning, I was really lucky because I knew people who had run agencies and were actively running agencies at the time. And one of them in particular owned an agency that I used and I was a client of. And so their help and their guidance was invaluable because even though I have the experience in digital marketing and web development,
yeah.
I had 0 experience in running an agency.
Yeah, and that's like you've got multiple accounts to look after and you've got multiple relationships to manage, and now you've got team members to manage. Was that a bit of a shock?
So not necessarily. The job that I was doing previously, the way that business worked is we had a global team, and then like Canada, Europe, UK, they were all kind of separate businesses in their own right. So I was kind of running an agency with staff previously across similar services. But the main difference here is that it's not just getting under the skin of one brand. You're looking at multiple brands where you have to understand their audience, their customer, their sector. So that was hard. I mean, the graft was definitely put in those early days with only a few of us juggling and managing all of that, but it was fun.
So like I mentioned, it's a smooth start to the business.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty smooth start.
But you mentioned like that being a challenge. What are some of the other early challenges that you went through and sort of had to overcome?
So money was an early challenge, as I think it always is for all businesses.
Yeah.
I didn't go out for any investment or any funding. I just had savings, and that was a way to get us bootstrapped and started. I applied for grants for our very first computers, so for our first laptops and also our Mac, where we could actually do creative and actually have a decent computer in the office. And taking on an office was a bit scary as well, and having that contract and having that overhead. But I look back at it now and I think having the staff, having the office, and having those overheads that had to be covered actually made me a hell of a lot more motivated in those early days, because I knew how much I needed to be able to support my family. I had 3 kids at the time, and I was married to my husband at the time as well, and he'd been a stay-at-home dad, and I'd been supporting the family for 5 years before the agency was started. So I couldn't take any risks. I had to be able to pay everybody, pay all our bills, and be able to pay myself. So I think it just really pushed me to put that graft in, and I knew what my targets were. And I just got out there and got the business in, and had a great team alongside me to help me do that.
Yeah, and sometimes it is. I wouldn't say better, but it's needed to be a little bit uncomfortable if you want to drive
You need a
things
little
forward.
pressure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's like for me, even for me, like the times of the biggest growth always come from uncomfortable
Yeah.
moments. Or
Yeah, I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
how you mentioned before we started the podcast on like referrals has been a big thing, but was there a point where you just mentioned that you had to go out and get the business, and um, was there a point when
Yeah.
that was a thing?
So referrals were obviously a massive big deal for us. And when I say that I was putting the graft in to get the work, it was very much going out to my network and going out to people that I worked with and saying, like, do you know anyone that's looking for an agency right now? Do you know any pitch processes that are going on right now? Here's a deck. Here's some information about what we're doing. And just putting myself out there as much as possible with the elevator pitch of who we are and what we were doing. And, that that was actually the best way to get the referrals and the best way to get the business, because there were a lot of people in my network who were willing to help me. And if I didn't have that, I think we would have really struggled.
Yeah, yeah, and it can be easy to have a big network and just say, oh, I'm just gonna sit and wait
And
for it to
wait.
come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of like the outbound stuff in there, but it's
Yeah.
not cold outbound. It is you
Not
still
cold
are.
outbound. It's
Yeah,
just outbound to people who,
yeah,
yeah, I knew. And my husband at the time as well, he did some LinkedIn messages, sending them from my account and from his account to various businesses. And there was one that ended up coming through as a client, and I still have it printed out, which is the original LinkedIn conversation in a frame
right.
behind my desk, which is with the company that then said, well, I guess I'll give you guys a chance, come in and pitch. And hilariously, because I was a new business owner and I had no idea kind of what I needed to set up, because my other two clients I'd already set up at the time were relationships and people I knew, he was new and he was a marketing manager. And he was like, I need to go to my boss, get the contract signed, get all this agreed. What's your VAT number? And obviously, I hadn't hit the threshold yet because we were months into a new business. So I like
Yeah,
frantically then registered for a VAT number to look official. Hey, here's our VAT number, and we're all registered. And yeah, that was really exciting because that was winning business without having a
yeah,
relationship previously.
yeah. Good stuff. We'll go. So you mentioned like the website stuff comes a little bit, or the arm of the business comes later. We in like 2020, did you say 2020?
2021.
Um,
Yeah.
up to that point, then is it just the other half of the business that is the main service, and then people are asking for the website stuff, or do you see like an
Yeah.
opportunity for that?
Yeah, so we saw the opportunity for it. So in the early days, we were offering the digital marketing services, kind of organic social media,
Yeah,
paid social, Google, and SEO. And then we were working with other web development agencies as well. So our client would already have a dev agency. We'd need something fixed on the website, and it would just
yeah,
be quite a clunky process. So, in the end, I saw the opportunity for having the web development in house as well. We started partnering with another web development agency, and then they eventually became part of Ecrubox.
okay, very nice. So all of that team still exists in the business, is it?
Yeah, so that team has obviously changed and adapted over
Yeah.
time, but yeah, there are some of the original team that are still in there too.
Oh, nice, very good. What would you
Because they were mainly a Magento focused
right?
agency whenever we first acquired them. So that was a really interesting transition for them as well to then move into more of a Shopify space, which is where we are now.
Yeah, and now you only operate in Shopify. That's right, isn't it?
Not only we have worked on other platforms, we have had other, enterprise clients who have worked on Sitefinity or, Umbraco, other platforms, but I would say the 90%, the core is Shopify, mainly Shopify Plus.
Yeah. I'm interested to go into team structure then, because I know that you have like your two managing directors
Yeah.
for each arm of the business. Was there ever a point? Was that always the case, or did you try and try and like
No,
integrate them straight?
that was not always the case. So up until summer of 2023, so just nearly coming up to 2 years now,
Yeah.
I operated the business as a very, very flat structure and had a lot of direct reports coming into me. And that started to become really difficult as we were growing. And the move was very strategic of promoting those two women into their roles as MDs on the web development and the marketing side of things, because it really did allow me to be able to be more focused on the business, more strategic for key clients that are paying for my time as an advisor or a consultant, and also to focus on my separate projects where I'm a non-executive director and investor as well on the side. And I think that move for me was critical. It took us about a year to get to a point where I could really pull back and not be in the weeds and involved in the day-to-day detail. But since then, it's been brilliant. I actually don't know how I was operating previously, the way things were working. So best decision that I made.
So it was like 2 years of a lot of headaches, and then the change of the team has like changed the business, I guess, and been able
Yeah.
to allow you to.
It's totally changed the business. And I feel like we've now hit a point where we feel a lot more organized, a lot more grown up. Like I thrive in startup mode and I love, like changing and pivoting and doing stuff all the time. But the team is a lot more structured now. I have startup mode brain, but not everybody thrives in that space. So putting the MD structure in place has given us a lot of stability, and I still get to feed that energy in, but I'm feeding it into them. And then the way that they actually push it through the team and implement it is different than how I was.
Yeah, that might be good to go into then, like before we go into like what you provide, like some of the client stories, what your day to day looks like. You mentioned that you got a couple of other positions that you hold. What does your day to day look like now?
Yeah, so my day to day, I know everybody probably says this, like every day is different, but literally every day is really different for me. I am an investor in 10 different businesses. Some of them need more of my time. Some of them I'm really quiet on and just get updates from them and don't get very involved. I have some advisory positions for certain clients as well. Some of them actually aren't clients yet for Ecrubox because they've not hit the point where they can afford the agency fees. So I'm just working with them and helping them in the startup phase. I also am currently in the process of opening a restaurant and co-working space in Worcester as well. So that has been a really interesting project. We have identified that in our area in Worcester, there isn't necessarily a place for startups that is more of like an incubator style outside of a place in Malvern called Beta Den, but it is very focused just on kind of tech businesses more than anything else. So the idea is to bring more of an entrepreneurial community feel together in Worcester. And that is opening in April. So that's taken up a lot of my time recently, as well as working on that.
Very good. I'm sure we could probably do a full hour on your other roles.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll stick to this business. Do you wanna talk us through then like what Ecrubox is delivering for clients now
Yeah.
in a bit more
So
detail?
Ecrubox is now in a position whereby back when we first started, we'd kind of take whatever service we could get. We may just be your SEO agency or just run your organic social. But we now are a business partner with our clients. So our clients take multiple services from us at the same time rather than just one. So if we're working with a client, it's very likely that we're doing their website development. We're also working with them on their email marketing, their social media, running their ads, and doing their SEO. And that is absolutely how we get the best results for them as well, because we have more kind of in-depth information about how attribution's working, how each of the channels obviously interact and work together. We do still model ourselves as we're an external party, but actually we feel like an extension of your team for your brand. So not a master servant relationship, more of a business partnership whereby we listen to each other. They involve us in decisions. That's really, really important to me. And whenever we do get a client that treats us more like an agency, it normally doesn't work out because we like to have a voice. We like to challenge our clients. We don't just take what they give us and tell us to do and deliver it. That's not what we ever set out to do. But yeah, so delivering quite a wide breadth of services, but all very tailored and very focused on that individual business's goals and targets.
How do you try and stay away from like being seen as an agency rather than like, I don't know, I guess an extension of the team, because it's probably a hard thing to do in terms of like
Yeah,
positioning. How do you get into
it
how do
is.
you get that into
It is a
place?
hard thing to do, but I think it very much comes down to the conversations that we have at the very beginning before an agreement is even signed and before we even start working with a client. During our pitch process, we do ask a lot of questions, talk about the way that we work, talk about our expectations. It's never about their expectations. It's about what do we expect from one another? How are we going to work together? What do you need to do to help us hit your targets? And so I think we really lay that out from the very beginning. And then as soon as we see kind of any red flags that it's not going to work out that way, we are willing to walk away from
Yeah.
opportunities.
How do you find that companies work with existing agencies in certain parts of the business? Can you still go into that
Yeah, we
business?
can. And we have done that a lot. And actually, that's been absolutely fine. We have
Yeah.
had some situations where obviously we've gone in, we've started working with a business, and they already have a couple agencies in
Yeah.
place. And they've decided over time to give us more services and cut out those other agencies so that everything's under one roof and with one team. But we play nice with other agencies, and I actually think that's really important. We've had some situations before where a new agency has come in with one of our clients, and the whole goal was like not working together, but just trying to get us out as soon as possible. And it doesn't pan out if the other agency has a good relationship with the client already because they see through it and they're like, well, wait a second. They're really proven and they've been working with us for 5 years. You've only just started and you're trying to get rid of them. So we would never do that.
Yeah, and I've spoken to a few, especially like in the e-commerce space of
Yeah.
like other channels need to speak to other channels to make their
Yeah,
channel work. So if you're not speaking to each other, then it's all just going to collapse, and
exactly.
it might have you might have to lower the ego or something of
Yeah,
come down
yeah,
into the
exactly.
table.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and like with Amazon as well, when you're running a D2C brand and you're selling directly to consumers, but you also have an Amazon presence and an Amazon agency as well, if your agencies aren't speaking to one another, you
yeah,
have so much cannibalization between the two channels, and you can end up spending a lot of money in both and actually losing your D2C customers to Amazon. So that is an especially important relationship to have is with the Amazon agency.
yeah. Is there any like I don't know, maybe a couple of specific problems that clients usually come to you with, and I'm not sure if you've got any like case studies or like examples of work that you can share.
Yeah, so clients normally come to us for a few reasons. We've had a lot come to us because they have kind of started up, they have proof of concept, but they're really struggling to get to the next level to scale. So they need to prep for investment. So we'll help them with actually getting some campaigns running, proving their business model, getting their numbers together of what's your lifetime value, what's your acquisition cost. And then because of my experience with investment and, advisory positions, I actually can help them pull together that deck to put in front of investors to help them secure that money that they need to get to the next level. But another thing as well is they'll come to us because they've tried out multiple agencies, haven't been able to get growth, haven't been able to get a solid ROAS, haven't gotten the brand kind of represented in the right way from the other agencies. And so we'll come in and review everything, pull together a new strategy and a new plan, and work with them to hit those targets. But I would say those are kind of the two main things. So more established businesses that have kind of gotten fed up with agencies, and also the startups who are like, we need to ramp up so we can scale.
How do you get that trust back? Because I'm sure that, like, I know there's so many companies that have been burnt by, it happens daily, getting
Yeah.
burnt by agencies. How do you repair that? And
So
like saying, yeah, we're not like
I
that.
think I think the trust is built back off the back of the proven experience that we have as a business, and the proven experience that I have as well of launching startups and growing startups, and the results that some of our clients have seen. One of the clients that we've been working with for over 5 years now, when they first came to us, they had worked with several big agencies in the US and just never managed to get their D2C to grow. Wholesale was doing brilliantly, but not D2C. And in 2019, I think their D2C was about 600K. They're now on target this financial year to do 90 million online. And that has been through a jointly working growth strategy. And, over those years as well, I've helped them with recruitment. I've helped them to hire their head of e-commerce, who's now been promoted to a higher strategic role in the company, email marketing hires. It's been a very collaborative business partnership, not just we'll run your ads for you.
Very good. Very good. Is there any other, I can cut this bit out, but any other like that numbers that you want to talk to, like success
Yeah.
stories?
We also had another client who came to us for a very specific reason as well, because they were looking to exit their business. They had a target that they needed to hit so that they could sell the business after 12 months. And they essentially needed to double their revenue from 5 million to 10 million to get a good multiplier to sell that business. Came to us. We pulled all the numbers together, worked really hard on the strategy across getting the website updated and also the advertising strategy as well. And that business, we managed to grow from 5 million to 11 million, and they ended up selling at an amazing multiplier. And the great thing is that the company that they sold to, a PLC in the States, is now still our client, and we still work with them. So, that was a win-win for everyone, I think.
And that's like, I don't know if it's not a common thing for, you get the new I don't know, head of e-commerce or managing director, and
Yeah.
they say, no, I'm bringing my people in now. So,
I'm bringing my people in.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for them to stay, if you've taken a business from 5 million to 10 million in a short period of time, like, why would you want to go and change that? But a lot of people do.
Yeah. No, it's true. They do. And, they've also brought in other agencies over time. They have brought in some US agencies because obviously that's where they're located now, but we've managed to remain a partner as well.
Is the US market something that you actively go after, or is it?
Yeah. So we do have some clients in Europe, and we also have some clients in the US. Majority of them will be Europe, UK, and US, so they'll have presence globally. A lot of my background and experience is managing global brands, and obviously from a global side of running campaigns, SEO, the technical setup, it can get quite complicated. So as an agency, I'd say we really specialize in international brands and internationalization. So it just kind of comes with that. And also I'm obviously American as well. So I have a really good understanding from living here for 17 years, but also being American and having very close ties there of the differences between the customer bases and audiences and marketing in general.
Yeah, I guess that's an advantage for you as well, because a lot of, I would guess, companies come to you for doing that expansion, so they're not already in, say
Yeah.
if they're an English brand, they're
Yep.
not already in the US,
Exactly.
but you've got that experience to help them.
Yeah. And they're like, what do we need to do? What are the next
Yeah.
steps to launch in the US? And then we can strategize that together.
and that's a really nice in on that like partnership angle rather
Yeah,
than the agency, which is good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
okay. Well, we'll sort of look at the future then. You can go wherever you want with this, whether that's you personally with the other ventures that you've got, or the business. What's next for the business, the industry? A lot of people like to go through like how they're using AI and stuff. You don't have to do that, but yeah, what's next?
Oh, AI. Everybody's favorite subject is to talk about what you're doing with AI. So for us, I would say that AI actually is a massive game changer for digital marketing, but that's mainly down to their ability to target audiences and to find the right people for you to deliver your ads to. And I think in the past, digital marketers, especially in performance marketing, they were so focused on targeting strategies and finding the right audience. And now that AI has taken a lot of that off of us, actually, we've gone kind of full circle back to the past where it's actually more important to understand who your audience is and make sure that your creative is going to get the click and your creative actually speaks to them. So a lot of agencies that we see that are struggling are the ones who never really had a focus on understanding the customer and understanding the creative that is going to convert the customer. They were just good at understanding targeting and understanding data. And so our direction is the AI is there for a reason. It does a great job of delivering our creatives. We're going to do what we do best and really dig into who are we trying to target? What is your USP? What are the messages that are going to get the customer to actually convert with your brand and work in a much more strategic way? And it does take us back to marketing basics. And I think that is a really good thing. I think we've kind of lost our way with just looking at data and sitting and looking at analytics in a screen, that we've forgotten that asking our customers why they love our products and actually thinking about what is going to make a difference for them from the products and services we're marketing, that's more important than ever now with AI increasing.
Yeah, and it's interesting how many times I've had this conversation, the same conversation around different industries, like knowing your customer. I've had it with
Yeah.
investors looking to invest in startups. Like the first thing that they look for and how they're using AI is that the founder knows their customer. And
Yep.
like for us doing B2B outbound, the most important thing is how should you position yourself to the customer, not how many features should you talk about.
Yeah.
Like what is
What
the benefit to them?
actually makes you different from your
Yeah.
competitors?
Yeah. And what's in it for them basically, and not your features is how
Yeah,
we look at it. Yeah. And
exactly.
yeah. And it seems like it's the same conversation with a slightly different twist in pretty much everything consumer facing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Um what's so maybe where should we go? We'll finish with where for the business then. Future goes far into the future as you want. What's next for the business?
Yeah, so I think the next focus for us is with the fact that we are starting to become a little bit more of an incubator as well locally in Worcester. We will be looking to probably tie the investment side of the business into some of these startups that we're also incubating and working closely with.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that our core revenue and our core business that we're focusing on with scale ups and enterprise businesses is going to go anywhere, because actually they all fuel one another. So moving forward, yeah, the business is going to change and it's going to adapt, but not massively. Alex and I are going to focus a lot more on the startup side of things, and I will still be doing my advisory positions and NED positions on the side with the more scale up and enterprise companies as well. But yeah, the wider business, SJ and Carrie, they're really going to be focusing on that core side of the business with the scale ups and the enterprise. And I think over time, the main thing that I really want to focus on is we want to be starting up our own brands as well. I've had years and years and years of helping people make a lot of money off of identifying their audiences and helping them to market their products. And I think one thing you'll probably see from us in the future is that we'll be marketing our own brands as well.
Very good. I look forward to seeing it. If people have liked the sound of you and the business, where can they find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Heather Horton. I'm also on TikTok, Heather Horton Marketing, I think is what it is. And they can find Ecrubox on ecrubox.com as well.
Awesome. Well, Heather, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
And we'll definitely do it when you've launched some of your own brands and see.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tom.